Hello everyone, and we are back with yet another interview. This week is keeping on popping with interviews and with a lot of champions and runner-ups, and we are back to also double interviews. I'm glad that we are joined today both by Elyx, who was the runner-up in the last Fight Night EU, and by the winner SaltySimon. How are you doing, guys?
Doing great. Good. A bit tired Monday, but overall very good.
How about you, Elyx? Are you tired as well?
No, because I failed this weekend, so I had time to sleep.
That's one way to put it. But you had some amazing performances in Fight Night. You managed to get to the grand final, both of you. And as you can see on the image, we are going to start with Elyx's lineup first of all. Player for PCS, and it's quite a common face around here, especially with the EU Masters interviews. And now we have you here again. And your first deck is Zoe, Shyvana, Aurelion, Sol. I do see a lot of hype around dragons these days, and I need to ask you, why playing dragons and Zoe as well?
Actually, I think this is one of the most flexible deck, and everybody is running this kind of archetype. And you have two options. You can play Shyvana or you can play 3 Assault, but 3 Assault is very heavy, and I think it's too heavy. That's why I just add 1 Shyvana on the turn 4. And there is also another thing that I want to say on this lineup is I have 3 star shipping, and this is not good. Actually, people are playing the Fangs instead of the star shipping because the meta is too aggressive. It's going too fast, and you need a good turn 4 with a good body. And that's why I think this week for the next Fight Night, we're gonna have the Fang instead of star shipping.
I do see that you are running Solaris Sunforger, so what was the decision to drop Fangs and put Solaris Sunforger in?
You can play 3 Forger, 2 Fangs, and 1 Shyvana. So you have 6 body on turn 4, which is quite good, I guess. And I tried this weekend. One of my teammates tried also during the Shurima, the duel of Shurima. It goes pretty well. It's pretty good.
Right. Going back to you, Simon. You queue in into Elyx, and first thing you see is this deck. And what is your impression?
So the monster target is always scary because I feel like they have so much healing. I thought his list was incorrect, which I think star shipping is just wrong for the most part. I think not running Guardian is probably a mistake as well. So I felt pretty comfortable with it against Nightfall. Even though the monster target is supposed to beat Nightfall, I think I'm 5-0 against it in the tournament so far. So I felt pretty comfortable there. I think Discard still does well into it, unless they run Guardian. I think the 4 healing from Sunforger is never enough. I think when you have Fangs, you add 3 more, that matters a bit. But overall, I felt pretty good, I think, with Discard into it as well.
Right, and Elyx, you mentioned that this version, or rather this archetype, is really flexible. Why is that? Why do you think it's so flexible?
It's very flexible because against aggro, except Nocturne, which is not a real aggro deck, it's a aggro mid-range combo deck. Mm-hmm. Against, for instance, Mono Elise or discard aggro, you have the possibility to touch your Zoe in early game, and after that you can try to find Equinox or healing with guiding touch. So depending of the matchup, the mulligan of course is very important, and you target the cards that you need against different matchup. That's why I call this deck a flexible deck, because you can adapt yourself from the beginning.
Alright, and one last question about it. I do see this problem. What are you running in terms of spells? Because the 2 spell slot is usually very clunky, while single combat is the must. You also have Sharp Sight, you have Guiding Touch, and you also have Spell Cascade. So what is the decision to choose just Guiding and Sharp Sight and not choose any Spell Cascade?
Spell Cascade is not a healing card, and I need heal. I need life against aggro player. If I don't have 3 Guiding Touch, I'm already fucked. And you have seen the last Friday, even with 3 Guiding Touch, it was not enough against SaltySimon. So Spell Cascade is too heavy right now.
Yeah, and I actually like because I have another question. Why the Judgment? I see the Judgment is making a comeback. For some time now, we didn't really see Demacia, Aurelion Sol, and now we see Judgment once again.
Yeah, against Scoot in semi-final, I think I was playing against Dayton or Rammstein, the Spanish player, against Rammstein. And this Judgment was the key of the win. Without Judgment, I think I would lose against his Scoot deck.
All right. How about you, Simon? Did you feel threatened about a Judgment at any point with your decks?
I hate Judgment so much, especially when this is a one-off, because like in most spots you can't afford to play around it. Like overall, I'm not a huge fan of one-offs that you want to draw, but like it's always scary to play against. But in most cases, you just can't play around it and you just ignore it, and you usually get rewarded for it. So overall, I'm not a huge fan of one-off Judgment. I don't think it matters in most games. Like I don't much like. There's very few cases where like you can afford to play around Judgment because you're gonna lose the late game anyway. So you just have to ignore it, and then they usually don't have it, and you get rewarded for them making the deck a little more inconsistent. I think so. Overall, I'm not a huge fan of it.
Right, we will see if the element of surprise is still going to be around. Not really the elements of surprise because it's it's a one-off. Like with Battle Fury, when your opponent is attacking or it's staying at a high amount of mana, I already know something is happening or at least they are bluffing. But moving forward to your next deck, Elyx, the next deck you have brought is PNZ and Noxus. It is Draven Ezreal, another deck that is coming back in this meta. And why Draven Ezreal?
Draven Ezreal is a good deck and a good archetype against Demacia. And as you can see, Demacia is well represented with Assault, Scoot, and all this stuff. So Draven is another flexible deck, good against Demacia, good against Targon, and okay tier against aggro. If you touch your good cards during the mulligan, I think you have a chance to win against, for instance, aggro Spider or discard. But actually, the deck has a problem against Lissandra. And as you know, Lissandra is a top tier deck. And I think Draven will decrease the next 10 days. And maybe we won't see a lot of Draven during the seasonal tournaments. Maybe. I don't know, but I think so.
You mentioned the aggro matchup and Simon is playing double aggro. But I always feel like the matchup is like, at least on cast, I say that for Draven it's 50-50, maybe 52.5 for Ezreal Draven. I have that feeling usually. So Simon, you do see Draven Ezreal. Do you feel a little bit threatened?
Yeah, I think Draven is really good against aggro for the most part. I would disagree. I think Draven is very favored against aggro. Draven is like if they don't play the Sandra, I always ban Draven over anything else. I think it does well into Nightfall. I think it does well into discard, it does well into spiders. Spiders is like the most of the common aggro deck, spiders is the best into Draven. But Draven is still favored. It's probably 55% across the board. So Draven is very solid. We saw a lot of Draven in the Digital Shurima. I think we're gonna see a lot of Draven in seasonals as well. I don't think it's gonna decline. I think it's a very popular deck, and I think it's here to stay for now.
Alright, and before we move actually to your deck, Simon, Elyx, I know you have brought Draven Ezreal, I know you have brought the Master Ansel, but where are the French specialties? I already know that you guys prefer to play Scouts, you prefer Demacia Ionia usually, or Lee Sin decks. Why not those?
First, Fiora is dead. You cannot play Fiora anymore because one Mystic Shot and you just have to leave. That's the first point. The second point, Scoot is a good deck, especially if you have a good taking against Lissandra and all the Vile Feast, all this stuff. So Scoot might be a good option if you think that Lissandra Trundle will be the main deck in 10 days. But for now, it's not very good. Even if you play Scoot against Lee Sin, you have a chance to lose because you depends of your misfortune. If you don't touch misfortune, you're fucked. So that's why I don't play any more Scoot nor Fiora decks. And another point it's very funny with Draven. You have seen the version from Asia, from the team UCG Boom Timo. They're playing one card, one mystic shot, one card. They are not playing usually three cards, three. How can I say?
3 copies of the same card.
Yeah, 3 copy of the same card, and it's crazy because usually you have to play 3 copy if you want to have a good decks in ladder. And with S-Driven, it's better to play just 1 copy of each card. And this is one point that I'm very curious of what Salty thinks about that. Is it better to play 1 copy or 3 copy if you want to be a good tournament player?
3 copy for the most part. I think making decks more inconsistent just for hitting some niche matchup with some tech cards it's not worth it in the end for the most part. Like I think playing 1-2 one-offs is fine, but like the Asian list, I think it's almost like, isn't it like almost like 7 one-offs or something? It's crazy. I would never play a streamer like that. I don't think it's correct at all.
Okay.
All right.
Like I think one-offs in general, like if it's a card that you want to draw, you don't play one-offs. I think one-offs is, as Ruination, expensive card adjustment is probably okay because they are scared to play around. Like I'm still not a huge fan of it, but it makes more sense when it's more expensive cards, so you draw them later in the game, I guess. But like cheap cards, I would never play as one-offs.
We're going to see what's going to happen in the Asia seasonal, to be fair, because our U seasonal or U and NA rely more on, as you said, consistency, playing more free ops, just advancing your gameplay, not relying on a one-off that hits a niche match, as you said, and then not hit it at all. But moving forward to your decks, Simon, you retained, as we said, the 2 most broken decks from your first lineup that 2 weeks ago, I think, got you a first place. And one of them is Diana Nocturne.
Mm-hmm.
Why bring it again?
I mean, it's strong. It's very strong. It's very fun to play. It's my favorite deck right now, for sure. 100%. I think like the matchup tables are like so close. It's only like super favored into Lee Sin, I would say. And it's only super unfavored against Lissandra. Other than that, I think the matchup tables are very close to 50% against almost anything. Which I think it makes it a really good, like, flexible deck to have in the lineup, I think.
I think last week you told us that Dalton kind of convinced you to play the deck more or less. And what changed in terms of your experience with the deck from last time you've played until this tournament?
I think overall, like, I remember the last interview I said that I didn't really understand why we play Gift. I think right now turned over completely, and the Gift is just amazing. I think not playing Nightfall with the Gift is just a mistake. The card is insane. Like the value you get, how flexible it is wonderful. Like that's the main point, I think. And other than that, yes, like matchup tables has changed a bit in my head as well.
Alright, and now bouncing back to you, Elyx. You see Diana Nocturne, what are your first thoughts?
I knew that Gift from Beyond is a great card because I lost 3 days ago, like I said, against Salty one more time. And I said, holy crap, man, if he has the good Gift at the good time, I'm fucked. And I've also seen the Moonlight Affliction, which is a great card if you want to 1 turn to kill your opponent. And I know that I had almost no chance with my lineup against Diana Nocturne. So my only hope was beating him 2-0 with his discard aggro. And I was a bit surprised that you opened with your discard instead of opening with your Diana Nocturne, Salty.
Yeah, I think this card is more favored into like S-Draven than it is the Demacia Targan for the most part. And I expected it to go with S-Draven first. Okay. Because it beats both decks, technically.
Yeah.
Alright, but you said, Simon, that you are not really a fan of one-offs, but we see this split between Moonlight Affliction and Atrocity, not really a clear cut between them, or why going for one-offs from both of them?
Because it's Nightfall draws a lot. That's the main reason. Like I think you can afford to cut the win-con cards like Atrocity and Moonlight down to one-offs just because you draw so much. That's the main reason. And I think they're both very scary card to play around. And it's like the cards that you have to respect. It's really hard to like not respect them. Because like the also me having them is like one of them at least is like pretty high at some point in the game. Because with Flight, with Pay, like you shuffle a lot of cards in. and you draw a lot of cards. That's the main reason.
I do see currently that people are experiment with Cygnus, the Moonstalker. What are your thoughts on that?
Which one?
The 6 mana 6/4 that awards elusive to another.
I don't like it. No, I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah, me neither. I don't like it.
No,
why don't you like it?
There's so many answers to it. Like against the multi-target, you have harder strikes. You're wasting so much mana, like for like effect that probably not gonna matter at all. I don't know. It doesn't see any. There's no reason to play it against aggro, against the decks that do well against us, like the Master Targon, Straven. The card is just useless for the most part. I'm not a big fan of it at all.
How about you, Elyx? Why are you not a big fan of Cygnus?
Same thing than Salty. It's you have a lot of answer. It's a little bit too slow, and if I could play with 43 cards or 41, yes, I would play a Cygnus. But right now, it's better to play without.
Yeah, just touching a bit more on the subject. I think after you, Simon, and Delton talked to me about the deck and that you can mostly play it more combo-ish than just full aggro, I trust it makes more sense because Cygnus requires 6 mana on himself, 6 unit mana. Atrocity becomes a threat as soon as you have 6 mana with spell mana as well, so it's more flexible and the opponent might want to tap out at some points or might tap out. So you can go for the trusty win.
And Atrocity is a threat on your opponent's turn as well, and Cygnus is not, and that's also important because you force them to like maybe hold mana back.
Yeah, it's more of a threat than Cygnus is that can be dealt with. It's also a unit, and removal is kind of everywhere at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
For me, the Unto Dusk, the spell mana 2 is a problem, and I mean maybe you have not seen the lineup of Dina. He made a great run at Saturday evening, and he's playing 3 deck with 3 Unto Dusk, and this card must be nerfed for me. This is way too strong.
Wait, he played Unto Dusk in his Azir deck?
Unto Dusk with Mono Azir, Mono Elise Spider, and Diana Nocturne.
Oh, wait, why do you play Unto Dusk in Azir SI?
I think you are playing it on your Stygian Onlooker. You are playing it on your list.
That makes sense. Yeah. I forgot. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. The card is insane. The card is insane for sure.
It's the card that Nightfall wanted, I think, for so much time now. But now it's a little bit overpowered. It has the, let's say, Pale Cascade effect. The draw is already pretty strong now, and it's not attached to the Nightfall effect. I think that's the bigger thing, because even if you do not proc the effect, you can draw at burst speed.
Yeah, like even Spiders play it now. I think at least they should over Horror, and that tells you something, because Horror is like already a decent card.
Yeah, definitely. Moving forward to the last deck, the king of the aggro decks, as we have dubbed it the last times, Draven Jinx. Yep. And I think you brought it simply because it is the king of the aggro decks. Is there any other reason?
No, that was the main reason. I think like for Fight Night, it's so I was so unsure if I wanted to bring aggro at all, because I can't ban Lissandra and expected Lissandra to be pretty popular. But at the end of the day, I think Fight Night is the hardest tournament to actually build a lineup for, because you can't really play around stuff. So I decided to bring 2 solid decks, and it worked out well. But yeah, this card was just 100% going.
So, Elyx, how did you feel when you saw this card? Because this card has these awkward turns for the opponent, actually, where you can hit so many heroes. It's not even heroes as more. The deck is consistent in itself.
Yeah, this is a consistent deck, but for me, this is more a coin flip deck than a very powerful deck. With a format best of 2, like during the Fight Night, this is a great deck, a great option. But if you play a tournament best of 3, like Nice Cactus tournaments or the seasonal tournament, I don't think this card is the best option. This is one of the best options if you're an aggro player and you want to bring 3 aggro decks. But actually, I'm really not a big fan of this old version of this deck. Usually, I prefer to play Nocturne, or I even prefer to play mid-range aggressive like Scout's MF Queen more than the Draven Jinx. And I have a question for you, Salty. I'm sorry, I make also some question. You run 3 augmented experimenter. Usually it's 2. Why did you add 1 more?
Well, it's just extra draw. That's the main reason. I think it's like against the mid-range decks, it's really good. Like it gives you extra reach in the longer runs. And I think like right now we don't really have games and decks that close out games that easily. Like even the monster target, it takes a while for them to close out. And when you play 3 of them, like the odds you draw them is of course higher. And if it hits, you get 3 cards, and all of a sudden you're big threat again, even though maybe you losing the game and just one top deck changes the match. I think 3 is like, I always prefer to play 2, but I think it was wrong. I think 3 is definitely correct.
Yeah, because usually you play 2 and you add 1 Mystic Shot. I think it's the
or an extra Power Cannon or something. Yeah. No, but I really like 3. I think it's solid.
Okay.
I think we see this because of, let's say, the mind meld effect, because in that deck you draw so much, and so at some points you might want to discard the mind meld, and you are going to feel sorry that you do not have that win con. And I think this card kind of falls in the same place, because if you want, for example, discard an augmented to level a Jinx, you are going to feel sorry if you are not hitting it, and playing 3 adds more consistency.
Yeah, like you sacrifice a little bit early game, but I don't think that matters that much anymore, because I think there's no real deck that raises this card anyway.
But if you need it, you have 3 augmented experimenters just to keep the top decks going and get it to the actual burn and finish the opponent. With rockets, with get excited, everything you want.
For sure.
But now the tournament is done and dusted. You have played against each other, you have performed quite well, both of you, and I am curious if both of you have any advice for each other from the games that you have played. For example, Simon, do you have any advice for Elyx?
Don't make jokes when you play tournaments, maybe? Other than that, like gameplay-wise, I don't remember too much. But yeah, the last game was obviously not very good. Other than that, I don't know. There's not much I can say. I don't think there was anything I really saw that was like weird overall.
How about you, Elyx? Do you have any advice for Simon?
Yes, of course. One main. Please stop eating your keyboard. What? I have seen a clip on Twitch on you like eating your keyboard like.
It was one time. It was old
so
anyway.
Funny. So funny.
Yeah. It's only one time actually. Yeah,
still
I remember
working?
that.
You still working?
No. I bought a new one. No. I broke. All the keys were gone, so they flew away. But yeah, I misplayed so hard that I tilted.
It's for content, as we say it. When you misplay, when you do something stupid, it's for content.
Yeah. No, I was actually very tilted back then because I asked for the game for no reason.
It happens. But now we are nearing the end of the interview, and as you guys might know, now it's the time to shout out the people that usually help you prep. For example, Elyx, who helped you and who would you like to shout out?
Big thanks to my team PCS. Actually, we are 5 players on the top 12 in Europe. So we have a great team. We are under contract and we are working together. We are playing together every day. So thanks PCS. Thanks Darius, the boss. Thanks my manager, Zais and Lorlin. Big thanks to my teammates, Az, Irvin, Flaxo, Gwen, Arthur, etc.
You have quite a lot of people and quite many people to prep, so I think it's just a merry gang over there. But Simon, who do you want to shout out? Who helped you along the way?
I mean, it's obvious. Delton, sorry, again. I also started talking a bit more with Broken Ball overall. I think he kind of only know our screaming group here. So Broken Ball, Delton, sorry the 3 people I scream with right now. But yeah, obviously I went with the side lineup, so there was not too much new in Fight Night.
Alright. I'm glad that I could have you both here. Congratulations again for the awesome performance. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to see each other very soon with yet another interview. Until that time, see ya.
Bye-bye.